Hi there, I'm Nick, I'm autistic, and I also have ADHD, anxiety and panic disorder. Now, anxiety is one of the more common comorbidities that comes with autism, with 20 to 50% of us affected. So what is anxiety and how is it related to autism and ADHD? Now, until recently, I thought that my anxiety was something that appeared only in the last year or so after being diagnosed with neuroendocrine cancer. Okay at the moment. I thought that some of the strange symptoms I was having were the return of a cancer that affects the neuroendocrine system. And since then, I've started to have frequent panic attacks, which have sent me to emergency department several times in the last couple of years. But as my psychologist has gained my trust and gently prized apart those giant iron gates I've had in my mind to keep people out for years, I realized that all these physical sensations that I've had for most of my life are in fact anxiety. I've always thought it normal to have palpitations. I've always thought that everyone has a dry mouth. Everyone has weird sensations in the pit of their stomachs. Everyone gets shaky and has cold sweats. Everyone feels nauseous before doing something new or meeting new people. Everyone has bouts of diarrhea before leaving the house. Everyone has insomnia and lives off catnaps, don't they? I've always believed that the tension that's constantly screaming through my body all the time is what everyone feels. Intrusive thoughts telling me that I'm no good, that something bad is about to happen, that tumble into full-on catastrophizing when I'm alone, causing me to phone these poor helplines because I'm terrified to go to sleep in case I die. That's anxiety. This is not normal. This is not what everyone goes through all the time, is it? This is living full time with fear about everything happening around you. Neurodivergent folk have major sensory issues and our brains are constantly overloaded by what's going on in the environment around us. So this makes us anxious about our environment. Neurotypical humans have a habit of rejecting us. We know we don't fit in, we know we're different, we don't feel we belong, so we become anxious in our interactions with them. We're accustomed to being bullied, abused, and rejected. No wonder we feel anxious. Autistic folks need safety, sameness, and routine. It's immensely stressful when things don't go as planned. This causes us to be anxious when we don't know what's going to happen next. As I've got older and gone through menopause, this has worsened. Now the body doesn't work as it should, as the way I'm accustomed to it working. There is always pain somewhere. To me, pain signifies a problem, and it gets scary. Any pains that pop up cause instant feelings of anxiousness. Because I'm always on alert and aware of my heartbeat and can hear the blood pumping through my body, I know when there's the slightest irregularity. And this feeds off of it, my anxiety. And my anxiety further feeds off of the irregularities. Now, my mother had a few heart attacks and died at a relatively young age from one. So as I've got older, I have developed this dreadful fear of dying alone at home by heart attack and nobody knowing, and my poor dear pets suffering long drawn out deaths and maybe having to eat each other. Neuroendocrine cancer did not help, because one of the main symptoms is feeling something is just not right. So every time I feel out of sorts, I start freaking out that the cancer has returned. So on top of the general anxiety that I have as an autistic person, I have also developed health anxiety. Now, the only way to give myself peace of mind on the health front is to be very proactive and be an absolute pain to my doctors, even if I am coming across as a hypochondriac. I insist on quarterly blood tests for the cancer and ensure that I don't consume anything that may give a false positive reading. This week I went to see a cardiologist, and I'm currently wired up for the next 4 weeks being remotely monitored, having my heart rate monitored and recorded. This actually makes me feel a little bit safer when I'm by myself, knowing that someone's out there recording and they will notice if I die. So my animals will be okay. I'm also booked in for a stress echocardiogram, running up and down on a treadmill and having ultrasounds or something in a couple of weeks, and that should pick up any abnormalities. If there aren't any, great. I can remove that from my list of things to be scared about. If there is an abnormality, it will be found early enough and it can be dealt with. So that is why I've gone to see a cardiologist. I'm trying to be proactive and deal with the anxiety about that. It's my only way of eliminating concerns and trying to regain some sort of control over my life. Because being anxious all the time, being anxious about leaving the house, being anxious about noises on the roof, being anxious and overwhelmed around people, being anxious and overwhelmed and unable to cope in shops, cafes, noisy or other populated environments, and being terrified of being home alone as well, it becomes too much. This level of anxiety is not manageable. So I need to break things down into small parcels and address each one logically. This is not easy to do when your mind races off feeling anxious about everything. It really is a constant battle. Anxiety is shit. I use breathing exercises and I try meditating. ADHD struggles a bit with the whole meditation thing. I can't set myself up a daily routine for that. It doesn't like to cooperate. Allowing the mind to drift off and pulling it back is, a good thing, but ADHD will charge my mind off in all sorts of directions and do everything under the sun and at warp speed, and it's hyper curious about everything. So approaching things with curiosity with ADHD is kind of counterproductive. EMDR, that's assisted me greatly in being able to leave the house for short periods of time and to be able to be in a vehicle. I wouldn't be able to do that without EMDR. That has actually been very good. ASMR also helps me slow my mind, relax and drift into sleep, even if it's just for a short period of time. So I've incorporated ASMR into a nightly routine. Overall, understanding that I'm neurodivergent has been a huge positive in my life, and I actually have come to like my quirky individual brain. But one thing I really want and need to manage is the anxiety. So if you have any tips or tricks or hints or anything that would help myself or others like me, because there's millions of us, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Yours in gratitude, all of us who suffer from anxiety. Thank you. Be well.